Hello everybody and welcome to episode number 347 of the Board Game Barrage podcast. I am back, your favorite tank / host, Neelan, the Orange Tank. Did you miss me, Mark?
Absolutely. I'm going to be genuine. I missed you a great deal.
Did you miss me, Callan?
What?
Thank you, everybody. It was lovely to hear your voices in my ears without having heard your voices in the record. I did listen to the episode, by the way. Of course, I listened to the episode.
Yeah, but you were like with me, and then we drove somewhere not together, and then you listened to me while you weren't with me.
Exactly.
So you had a day.
I drove to you while listening to you, and I stepped out of the car, and then you were there.
Yeah, and
like
Mark
you never left me.
Mark said some things that I did not agree with. But then he had final editorial approval, so that's why you heard those things.
Okay, that makes sense. I did appreciate you both keeping the what would Neelan have to say about this in the back of your minds as you were talking about money.
Always do.
This week, though, is not about money. This week is about board game designers. And more importantly than board game designers, it is the return of BGBBOB, which stands for something. I don't remember.
Best of
Board Game
games?
Barrage Battle of Board Games?
Something
is that
like
right?
That. Yeah, or Board Game Barrage Best
right.
of Board Games? Yeah, Battle of Board Games.
Best of Board Games, maybe.
I think
Battle of Board Games.
Something.
Who could say? Which, if you're not familiar, we haven't done this one in a long time. We're just going to be going down a list, a pre-established, pre-compiled list of board game designers and then ranking them in what is sure to be, people will call, the definitive order as decided by us.
I think Board Game Geek has been screaming out for a clearly definitive list, and I'm happy that we're finally going to be able to put it up there, and they can add it to, their repository of information and just put it out there as the definitive list.
Exactly. The list of record, which the people have been clamoring for.
That's right.
That is only going to be in the second half of the show, though. Before we get there, we are going to be talking about the games that we've been playing, and this week, the exciting games we've been playing, the hot, well, that's second. The first, less hot. Sorry, that maybe we cut that. Maybe we cut that. Maybe
lukewarm.
Maybe we don't include any of this. But the first game we'll be talking about is Iliad, which will be coming to us from Callan, and then the mega hot, Old King's Crown, and then franchise.
Mark has
great,
graced us
games
with 2018 this time. He's moved to only 7 years ago.
That's cutting edge for me, for sure.
Yes, the hottest of the hot. What was cool 7 years ago from Mark.
So cool that we started the episode by saying, haven't you spoken about this already,
right.
Mark? We were very
Haven't you already done this?
Okay, let's kick it off with Iliad. And Kellen, tell me about Iliad.
All right. So this comes to us from our favorite dentists who also make board games. Probably the only dentist who makes board games. Bite Wing Games. Okay, their logo is a tooth, something I would not have advised them if I was ever called in to advise them. Iliad is a two-player Reiner Knizia abstract strategy game where you are, I don't know, I'm sure it has something to do with the Iliad, which I don't even honestly know what it is, except that it's like Greek and old.
I actually forget the sides that you're playing in this game, but you're just, I guess, one of either Troy or someone.
Yeah, I thought Iliad had more L's in it than the Bitewing guys do.
You're thinking of Gilgalad. That's very different.
Yes, but this is Reiner Knizia at his sort of abstracty, tit-for-tat best. It is a grid that is red and blue, every other piece like a checkers board, like a chess board, and you are on your turn playing one of two tiles? Are you two or three? Are you two tiles?
I think it's two.
Yeah, one of the two tiles in your hand to a place on the board that is touching another tile, but that is also your color. And rows and columns will score once they are full. And each tile has a special power. And a special power would be something like reposition one of your own tiles. So if you play a 2, you can then reposition one of your own tiles. Or if you play a 1, you can then reposition one of your opponent's tiles. And this is literally like pick up any of their tiles, as long as it's not boxed in, and move them somewhere else. So the 1, quite powerful. There is one that allows you to turn this tile face down, and then tiles that are your next to, and then there's another like blocker sort of tile. But what are you trying to do, Mark, who has not played Iliad, because Neelan was my lovely 2-player partner in this game? You are trying to have the most when a row or column fills up, because at the end of each row and column is 2 different benefits, and the person who has the most will get to select which benefit they want. There are 5 different gods with values of tiles. So it could be a purple god 7, a white god 6. And it's like, which one do you want? Well, obviously you want the 7 above the 6. Not so, Mark, because the fun is in the scoring, which is if you have one of each color of god tile, you auto win the game. If neither player has one of each god, then the highest value of each god token is added together along with some bonus benefit tokens, and that is the winner. So there's sort of 2 objectives that are happening at once. One is, can you prevent your opponent from getting all of 5 colors? Can you get all of 5 colors? And then underneath that, where it probably will devolve to, is like who has the highest value in those suits, I guess you could call them, which makes the game interesting because there are battles that neither of you maybe care who wins. Then there are battles that one of you desperately must win in order to win the game. And then there are sort of those in-between ones where it's like, well, I could win this or I could lose this, and it's not super relevant either way, and I will just pivot around this. I think that if you don't love abstract strategy, I would seek employment elsewhere. This is fine. This is like totally, completely fine. The production is really good. I think, Neelan, this was like Kickstarter Deluxe everything, perhaps?
I actually don't know offhand, but it might. Yes, I believe I believe I have the deluxe version of this. I think that's right.
It's again, I'm not an abstract strategy guy in general, except when you catch me on Saturdays wishing I knew how to play Go or Shogi. It's just too procedural, too it's here. Reiner Knizia is here. He's showing up for you abstract strategy bros. But there's other ways to flex your E-Peens than to play Iliad. And for me, this is highly rated. Like I think people generally like this, but this is not going to convince you. I have stopped playing a lot of 2-player games in general. I just find it sort of dull. I don't know. I'm just coming up in a new era of me, this is just completely different. This is good. This is totally good. And I found the scoring and maybe that part of the board neither of us care about. And that actually changes the stakes of what we're doing now. But so much of the game was just this sort of back and forth where it was eking out just a little benefit here or a little benefit there. And I don't know. Where are you at on Iliad, Neelan?
Yeah, I think that I'm not that far. I think maybe I liked it a little bit more, but not that much by the sound of it. But I think that the thing that is both the best thing about it and also the thing that you're describing, which makes it drag a little bit, is that scoring. It's reminiscent of other classic Reiner. I think of Tigris and Euphrates as a really novel example of doing end-game scoring, for example. And this just kind of fits into that mold of okay, are you going to go for the 5 gods? Because there's one other little wrinkle that you didn't mention, which you could get 4 gods and the 2 rings.
Yeah,
so there's the secondary kind of little thing that you could aim for. And then what you start to notice is, okay, there's only 3 of each god tile. So you could just get locked out of one of the gods. And obviously that's what your opponent should be trying to do, is get all 3 of one god. Therefore, you will never be able to get that god. But then that wrinkle of the 2 wilds that work together, or that third wrinkle of well, then they might might just beat me on score, because if they stop me from getting the 5 gods, then it does just become a victory point thing. You're thinking about all of that at all points, and that's great for the first half of the game, but it does devolve in the second half of the game of like, okay, I have to get this, but I have to make sure you don't get that, but if I let you get that, then I also have to get this. And it starts to become a little bit too mathsy is maybe not the right word, but it starts to feel like you're working through all the possible ways that your opponent can win on every turn, because the thing that happens very quickly is, you're just filling up this grid. Every piece will get placed on every spot on the board, so by the end, your options just get very, very limited, and then it just becomes this very calculable Scrabble for what remains, in a way that didn't feel very satisfying to me. But like, it is still quite light. It's quite accessible. Like, it's not as light, I would say, but as something like a Caesar, which is maybe my go-to quick 2-player game, but it's in that realm. It's quite easy to teach to someone that has a little bit of passing familiarity with board games, and you could have a good time playing it back and forth, but it doesn't elevate to me above like other 2-player games that are like in a similar weight, I guess.
Yeah, and I think, in some ways you're looking at like multiple line battling happening at once, and so it's like, is this better than like Battle Line or Shoten Toten?
Sure.
And like,
which
absolutely not.
Totally. And actually, to some extent, that was the thing I was going to say. I have been playing Shoten Toten for the first time. I've never played Battle Line. I've never played Shoten Toten, but they're now on BGA. And I was recently just joyed to discover these games and be like, how have I never played this? And yeah, it kind of is Reiner Knizia doing what he does really, really well, but slightly pared down and slightly better. So it's a hard comparison in a market that he's already made some excellent games in.
And I think, just to be fair, I think I am not the abstract strategy guy. So like, and if someone said, Kellen, play this game with me at a con or whatever, I would play the game with them and I would probably have fun. I think like the getting good also would involve like insane amounts of AP, because like where you can play is like very specific, and then what tiles you have left is calculable, as in like, Nealon still has 1-4 left, and that's gonna just f*** my up, just in a way that I just find like meh. For me, not one I would play again. That is Iliad, and I'm sure, Mark, in 6 years' time, you will return and report similar feelings. No, but you might get more into it.
It actually doesn't sound like a game that,
maybe.
First of all, like you, I'm sort of like moving away from 2-player games in general. They feel a little like 2-0 sum for me, and there's not enough player dynamism, like the players affecting the board state. I think in general, it's usually like you do something and I have to react. That kind of thing is just not as interesting to me. And also, I'm with you, like in general, abstract games are not usually my thing either. So I'm seeing a lot of people talking about how brain burny it is as well. Like, I guess this is going to your calculable reference there, Kellen, that you can get quite locked up in calculating all permutations of what you could do and what you should do, sort of thing.
Yeah, and some people are good at that and they like that, and maybe if we agreed to play on like a 10-minute timer, I actually would enjoy it more as just like wow, like this happened. And there's it's good. It's Reiner solid at the very least, and the production is quite good.
Cool.
Iliad.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if I should be like, Kellen, are you throwing over the game?
Again, I was trying to figure out how many L's are in this, just reading it on BGG here. This is what I'm saying. When I look at it on BGG, I think there's 2 L's, but then when I look at the cover, that's an ILI. ILI. All right.
Begonia. Okay, I am going to be talking about Old King's Crown. This is a very hot, new, recently fulfilled Kickstarter by Pablo Clark, who, as far as I can tell, is a first-time designer and, a massive Kickstarter project. So that's probably
the artist of the game.
He is the artist. Thank you, Kellen. Yes. Thank you for pointing it out. He is the designer and artist. And that, we'll come back to why that's a big deal in a little bit. But the first thing I would have thought with that sort of pitch, first-time designer, first-time Kickstarter, problematic, worrying. I would not have been under the expectations that this was going to be good, but this has been taking the world by storm. Shut Up and Sit Down, love this. No pun included, love this. Everyone loves Old King's Crown. It is a lovely production. My God, the art is so vibrant and colorful. It looks gorgeous. It's actually genuinely one of the most gorgeous looking games I have played recently. Very colorful, very vibrant. I've said all those words already, but I'll say them again. This, from a mechanic standpoint, feels a little bit, and I sort of tried to remind myself up front to not make the Cole Wehrle comparison too often, but it does feel a little bit reminiscent of Cole Wehrle games. You can see a little bit of Arcs in this. You can see a little bit of Pax Pamir in this. You can see a little bit of Oath in this. A lot of Oath in this, I should say. But without any of that sort of campaign legacy / stuff. This is just a single session competitive game where what you are doing is being one of 4 different factions. There's very slight asymmetry. Probably not going to dwell into that too much because it's not too important in the grand scheme of things. But what you are doing is there are 3, effectively call them 3 lanes, 3 regions that are in every round of the game clashing. And in every round of the game, what you're going to be doing is playing one of the cards in your hand. Everyone has the same starter deck of, I believe it was 14 cards, I forget. You're going to play one of those cards of varying strengths and powers into one of those regions. Everyone is going to do this simultaneously for all 3 lanes. So I'm playing 3 cards down in 1 per lane. Kellen's playing a card 1 per lane. Mark's playing a card 1 per lane. Then someone, who is usually the person that's lost in the turn order, decides which order these regions are going to clash in. So I decide, I need to resolve the middle one first, then the top one, then the bottom one. Okay, so then we start. We resolve clash 1. Everyone flips up their cards. Then there's a series of actions. So it's like, okay, who wants to resolve some actions based on the cards that they have, based on their special powers, their asymmetric tactics, which are these once-a-game abilities they could have, or these kingdom cards that you can acquire at the beginning of every round. One of the most important phases of this game is this bidding phase where you acquire these special kingdom card powers, of which you can only have 2 at any given time. Everyone's applying their powers. We do some crazy effects, which might mean moving cards to other lanes. I might retreat a card if I now realize I'm not about to win this lane. But then ultimately, whoever has the highest strength in that lane wins the region and gets a reward from that region. That can be one of 2 rewards, which is usually some combination of victory points or some other crazy powers involving things I'm probably not going to dwell too much into, but sending your cards on journeys to get rewards, going to the council to get long-term rewards. Those are the tangential benefits as well as getting victory points. But more often than not, you're doing this obviously in the service of getting victory points, and that can be as many as 4 per round in a game that is quite a small scoring game. So our winning scores are typically in the region of 10 to 12, like low teens. So you can get up to 4 points in a given round, of which there are only 5, just by being very careful about your lane playing and your lane placement and strategizing around those lanes. Because there's this other little system that I haven't spoken about left that I really quite like. I've mentioned this in the context of Arcs before, but one of the things you have to do before you even start laying out these cards is declaring your intention. I am going to win this region, Mark. And not only am I going to win this region, I'm going to win this specific reward in this region, and I dare you to come and stop me. I dare you to tell me that you're going to win it instead. And if you do that, Mark, if you tell me that you're going to put your marker in that region and beat me at it, not only do you get the victory points instead of me, you get to steal one from me. So huge stakes on the table, and you really have to just be upfront and say, this is what I'm going for. Try and stop me, which I really love that aspect of it. The asymmetric side of this comes into the fact that over the course of time, you're kind of delving into these 5 unique cards per faction you have that eventually go into your hand. Like I said, you're acquiring these new kingdom cards, you're bidding on them. There's a very generous amount of hand management in this because your starting deck is small. You don't want to burn through your deck because then your hand size gets lower as the game progresses. You have to choose carefully whether the cards you're using, remember you have to commit 3 every round to these lanes, but then that means you're not sending cards and journeys, you're not sending them to the councils. Lot to think about there. Very fighty, very interactive, very mean at times. Like I said, there are very big point swings on the table. In a game that can end up with a winning score of about 12, you could get 4 points, including stealing a point from another player in one single round. So big swings, big consequences, very, very direct conflict. More often than not, your turn is, which person do I need to target this round to get ahead? It's just that game baked into it at its core. Kellen, I'm going to let you jump in here with your early thoughts on Old King's Crown.
Okay. I don't get all like this is like the Whirly thing, we don't want to talk about Whirly, but like this is like chaotic and unfair and that's okay, and I love it anyway. You know, like it's a lane battling game that you're fighting over 3 lanes, and everyone must commit all 3 of their cards face down. So it's a lane battling game with bluffing, where ultimately your goal is to just play the highest numbered card to a lane. But then everyone has a bunch of asymmetric abilities that like you can learn, but do exist, and asymmetric kingdom power cards that are wildly disparate in their power level. And then the game is also variable length. So it's not about like building up to like a crescendo, because you could play a 4-round game or a 5-round game or a 6-round game, if I'm not mistaken, or 3, 4, 5.
Well, yeah, and just to clarify though, that you are deciding the length up front. So I don't know if that's what you meant by variable. Okay, yeah.
No, but the power level of a card or like a once per game ability is not balanced around some specific length thing. Like,
sure, yeah.
I'm confused more than enamored by Old King's Crown. I mean, look, like it's not a Euro game, so I'm happy here. Right? Like I'm happy that we're trying things, but in a lot of ways it feels like a very simple blind bidding, lane battling game with 7,000 systems bolted onto the sides of it that appeal to gamers, and then art that's like the prettiest board game I think I've seen in 4 or 5 years. Like full stop.
Yep.
Maybe the prettiest art I've seen in 10 years. Could be ever. I wasn't as enamored overall by all the keywords and the symbols, and the text is kind of small to read, but like in the running for the best art on a board game I've ever seen as a complete production. I would be happy to do this again if it were shorter. I don't know. I really like the main central mechanism of blind bidding plus bluffing, to me, does not feel like it supports this heavy of a game. Like, that's the TLDR. And so now, you know, again, if you had one group of friends who wanted to play this 37 times and understand that green peaks early when they use their once per game ability in the second round, and that blue is obviously going to pop their supporters are worth double in the 4th or 5th round to try to steal points. Like, there's a lot of that could happen. But then again, these kingdom cards are not balanced in any way. There are some that are just like duds, or seem to be duds from non-experts.
Which I will say that like part of, I think, the appeal of that to some extent, right, is that like it does make that bidding phase interesting, because every now and then, every round you do look at the cards and everyone's going ooh at like 1 or 2 of them and like about the other 2. So it does at least inject some like spice into that. But I agree with everything else you're saying, which is to say that like there's something that I actually specifically want to like half quote you on, which is something you said on the day we played this, which was it felt like Cosmic Encounter with more steps or something to that effect. And like I agree with that. Like, I do think that the underlying core of this is quite daft and quite swingy and quite random is not the word I want to use here, but it just kind of feels like people are using their powers and getting wins and grabbing them out of nowhere to like huge consequential effect. But it's a longish 2 to 3 hour heavy game that does not really agree with what that experience is offering. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like I had a power of my faction red that allowed me to just mark, like, so it's a lane battle with 3 lanes where everyone's playing cards and you're just trying to have the highest value, to swap my own cards with any other card after looking at a whole lane. And then I had like a once per game ability or a kingdom card that allowed me to swap other players' played cards to their lanes. So it's like after everyone has played, I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm Yankee swapping this for this card in my hand, and I'm Yankee swapping Mark's card from this lane to that lane. And then everyone is doing all these summer actions that affect other things that are happening on the board. So by the time you get through it and resolve all of it, it may as well have felt like in completely random, right? It's like I almost wanted 4 players because of some 3-player problems that I perceive with the game, given that there are 3 lanes. But then at 4 players, my guess it's even more chaotic than it was at 3. And so I just wonder that probably wouldn't work for me either.
Yeah, it is funny because it's like despite promising not to invoke Whirly, I'm going to say something that I say often about his games and Root, which is I'm genuinely surprised that this is resonating with as many people as it is, because it has this element of like, who is this for? Like, is it for a heavy strategic gamer that really wants the weight and wants like the sense that all of their strategic decisions are like planning out? Or is it for someone that's okay with, wow, you just blew up my whole lane, and you assassinated all my best cards, and now they're removed from the game permanently. Wow, what a big move you made. That to me, those big moments are obviously fun and big moments when they happen, but they are offset by the fact that like it is a long, heavy game, and I don't want big swingy moments like that in my long, heavy games usually. I don't know. Does that make sense, Mark?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think Whirly games are one of his design foundations is like a game should end when it should end. Like one of the things he focuses on when design is like making sure games don't overstay their welcome, and that allows for bigger moves, I think, in general. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. A couple questions though. You said that the factions weren't really asymmetrically that different, but then Kellen described something about. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry. I think I might have either not conveyed that super well, but what I meant to say is that like, they're not like super, super duper asymmetric.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
It's not like you have this wild power that no other thing has. But like I would say there are quite prominent asymmetries that show up over time for sure.
Okay. Everyone has the same deck of starter cards, has 5 unique cards that they can build up to, and then 4 special abilities called tactics, and then 1 special power. I think it's more asymmetric than Nealon is saying personally, where it's like one player is more about flanking, one player is more about like chaos incarnate. Like there is sort of like that, and then the blue player is more about like control or like locking things down on the board.
Right.
So
okay.
It is the problem you have with any game like a Cthulhu Wars, where it's like you just don't know what other people are capable of for 4 or 5 or 6 games, and that increases chaos or the feeling of chaos. But yeah,
I think the thing that I was mostly reacting to is that often like the kingdom cards end up defining your asymmetries more to some extent, and those aren't like technically the faction asymmetries. So like there's multiple layers where your capabilities are going to be very different from another player, but they're not just baked into the faction you're playing,
Right.
Yeah, I'm just like not convinced, because like even one of the central things of like once you get through your deck, now you draw 1 less card, and then if you get through your deck again, you draw even 1 less card. The length of the game will highly correlate to whether that mechanism is irrelevant or not at all. And so it's just like what is the I don't that freaks me out.
I think it's funny that's such a hang up, because like I think we should just treat the 4-round game as the standard length. Like there is like an option for a short or a long game, but like I think most people are just going to play it as a 4-round game, or sorry, a 5-round game I should say. Not a
there's a lot of people online recommending 4 rounds for first.
Really?
So
that's
again,
really interesting. Actually,
hear you. I hear you. It's just I don't know why because in our game it was so close to irrelevant, and we spent a lot of time like thinking about it.
Yeah. That is interesting. I would never have guessed that there would have been a strong contingent already saying that the shorter game is better. That's very interesting.
Or maybe better for
them.
Yeah.
Or for a first player. Yeah. That makes sense. But yeah, anyway, the thing that's always unfortunate about reviews like this and like games like this, I really was excited for this. I expected to enjoy it a lot more. I think I liked it less than Kellen did, honestly. Like I think that like where the tensions were often felt bad to me, and I often felt like I would just be doing something and then just being like scrutinizing it and like stressed about it, and then when it would reveal, just being like, oh geez, like okay, sure.
It didn't even matter. Like you felt like all that
to some extent,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like I think the thing I can even point to a specific example of this, where it's like I think that Kellen and I were pitched. Well, I would just say I pitched myself against Kellen more in the latter half of our 3-player game, but then the third player just did something that kind of ends up just upsetting the entire situation, and ends up winning basically as a result of that. That's maybe a little bit unfair, but like it kind of caught me from out of left field in a way that I didn't see coming, and it was just like, okay, well then all the planning I was specifically doing was kind of thrown under the bus a little bit. But yeah,
I don't know, like my best move, let's call it, or most impactful move in the game was also the one that felt the worst to them, which is like after we deployed cards to the fights, I used an ability that discarded three cards from their hand.
Yeah.
And which is like all their ability to invest in upgrades, both across their deck and other things that are happening. And they both had like a really boring turn. And then I got a kingdom card that let me untap that tactic and do it again. So for 2 consecutive rounds, I just like completely restricted the shit out of them in like a very not fun, but obnoxious and effective way. And so often like it is a very like I attack you game, and then your ability to even like steal victory points from players. So it's like very, very like bash the leader or bash the perceived leader. So there's like a ton of that going on the entire time.
It's very rare to me that a game, and I know that this is probably very reminiscent of other area majority games and the sorts of games we like, but it did feel quite specifically like, hey, you are every round or just picking the player that you are focusing on and targeting for that round in a way that's rough, can feel rough to do and like have done against you, I suppose.
Let me ask you real quick. So it sounds like this is one of those games where knowledge of the cards will benefit your enjoyment of the game because you'll know what could potentially be coming, right?
For sure. And I think one of the things that like I would definitely acknowledge is even the kingdom cards, which is a sizable deck, but like after several games you would obviously know the rhythms of what sort of things are in there, right?
And so what is the size of the non-kingdom deck? For all the faults I have with Inish, one thing I do like about that deck is it's relatively small and you can pretty much internalize what the possibilities are after a couple rounds of that because it's a small set of possible actions. What's like the breadth there? Like how many cards are we talking about that you'd have to
Not very many.
Okay.
So everyone's basic deck is 14 cards, right? And those cards are a number and occasionally like a power. And I just mean almost like a basic action, not like a power, right? So you are getting familiar with those cards very quickly. Like Ellen said, everyone has the sprinkling of 5 cards, usually about 3 of which actually go into your deck that have like some additional like flair to them that's unique per faction. But then people also have these HQs that can also come out. So like there is like some stuff to learn on a per faction basis, but the large majority of the learning cards over time, I guess, would be in that kingdom deck.
Okay.
Totally. Which, to your point, is comparable to, say, like the Epic Tale cards in Inish.
Right.
But they're a much, much, much bigger component of the game in Old King's Crown. Like, everyone is getting access to a new kingdom card every round, typically, and they're, like, changing hands, and they're big, big, big powers that have a big lasting impact on the rest of the game. Okay. So they're much more integrated. The Epic Tale cards in Inish feel like spice to some extent. This is a core component of the game that you would have to be prepared for.
Gotcha. Okay.
Anyway, that is, I think, probably all we have to say about Old King's Crown. Yeah, I think that, like, if I were to, like, leave one final note on it, it does feel more in, like, the Oath category for me in terms of, like, where it landed in that kind of smorgasbord of, like, the other games we were talking about. And for similar reasons, just did not click with Oath at all. So I'm glad other people are really, really enjoying this, but it's just not one for me, and I don't get the sense it's one for Callan.
Yeah, I think I just hold out hope that, like, maybe I could play it with Paxton and that somehow it would work, but I don't think so. And I think even getting through the rules explanation with him would probably not work. And again, I would love to play more Cosmic, and I don't get why I would want my heavy Euro to hang around blind bidding philosophically. I mean, it's sort of like just like worse arcs, where I was kind of questioning why I wanted my heavy Euro game to hang around trick taking, pseudo trick taking. But this feels like it makes even less sense than that to my brain as of right now.
I agree. That is The Old King's Crown by Eerie Idle Games. Mark, tell us about franchise.
Yeah, okay, let's move from the relatively hot Old King's Crown to the smoking hot, cutting edge franchise. This is a game from 2018, designed by Chris Wart Conrad with art by up-and-coming artist Ian O'Toole, and published by Queen Games. This is a re-implementation of an even older design from 1998, so we're even going farther back. So Kellen thought I was getting closer to today, but I'm actually going back to 1998, so I got you there. That game, also designed by Conrad, it was called Medieval Merchant, so this is a re-implementation of that. I haven't played that game, so I can't say I know which changes aside from the art have been made, if any, so I can't help you with that. But speaking of the art, quick word about it. It is again by Eno Tool, and I think it's really well done. It has a little bit of that throwback food chain magnet art style, and the boards and the pieces themselves are very vibrant and compelling, so strong plus on that end. Maybe not as nice looking as Old King's Crown, but I think pretty nice. Franchise itself is a really interesting economic game about building franchises around the country, trying to get as much cash from unsettled areas of the U.S. in this case as possible. And then when competition for your franchises or competition for a city does start rolling in, trying to figure out the best time to forsake profits and go for control to score cities. I'll explain more about that later. The way it works is pretty straightforward, as are all the rules in the game, I'm happy to say. The first thing that you can do is on every turn is get income. Now, I'm going to try to avoid making this like a boring rules explanation that I sometimes fall into, but I think it's really important in order to get franchise as a game. It helps to understand how the balance between income and control that I mentioned earlier works in this game. So you've got a map of the U.S. in franchise covered by all these discs representing cities. Major cities like New York are going to have a value of, say, 8, and they're going to be printed on the disc representing New York from 8 all the way down to 1, sort of around the edge of the disc. And small cities are going to have, say, like all the way down to like 2. So New York is the biggest city, has 8. It starts with 8, going 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way down. Smaller cities could have like 5, 4, 3, all the way down to 2. The first person who places a franchise represented by little house tokens places it beside the largest number. And then everyone else who places a franchise in that city places it on top of the largest number available. So, for example, if I place the first franchise in New York, I'm placing it besides that 8, representing the size of New York. But if somebody else comes in there, or anytime another franchise is built in New York, they're going to place their franchises on top of the subsequent number. So the next person would place it on top of the 8, changing the value to 7. The next one would go on to 7, changing the value to 6 because 6 is now the exposed number. So you're covering up the different numbers of the cities as you add more and more franchises. Now, when you take your income, going back to how the income actually works, when you take your income, you check every city where you have any presence and you add up the visible numbers, and then you consult a table to see how much money you make. So if I'm in New York and 6 is visible, and I'm in Denver and 3 is visible, I'm adding those numbers up to figure out how much income I'm making. So there's that where you're trying to place yourself on cities where the higher numbers are available to have the most income. You're balancing that with the other thing you're trying to do that I mentioned, which is expand within a city where you have presence to try to take control. So again, if the largest visible number determines your income, why would you pay? Because in order to add more franchises to a city, you have to pay to add them and cover up these numbers. So why would you pay to cover up numbers, thereby reducing your income? It's because once a majority is established in a city, once somebody has a strict majority in terms of number of franchises in a city, the city scores for the person with the majority. So going back to the New York example, New York is a value 8. Once, say I place my 5th franchise in New York, I have now secured the majority because 5 is a majority of the 8 possible spots. And I score for New York, I score 8 points, the value of the city, which is a lot in a game where the final score is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 50 points. So that's why you are going to forsake your income by adding more franchises to try to take control and score a city. However, the thing you're balancing further is when I take control of a city, when I've scored the city, I take that city off the map, and now I'm no longer making any money off of it. I've gone farther than just reducing my income. I'm now not getting any income on it. In addition, anybody else who's on the city is also not making any income. And the game ends when a certain number, though not all, of the regions on the map score. So this is like a player control timer that you have to be aware of, because you may be milking a city to try to get income throughout the course of the game and just trying your best to keep a few franchises on it so you can get more and more income. But then you could find yourself in a situation where suddenly the game ends and that city that you were milking for income never ends up scoring because you were too late to convert from income to points. There's a few other rules in the game specifically regarding how you branch out around the map, but there aren't really too many. And that's one of the great things about franchise. This is another extremely simple rule set that immediately gets out of your way and gets you into the fun and into the decision making. The box, for example, says the game has a playtime of around 90 minutes. And I'm actually going to say that I think that's a little on the high end. I think you could definitely get closer to 60 minutes if you knew what you're doing. And even if you didn't really, on a first game, I think we were under the 90-minute suggestion, which is great for how many interesting decisions there are in this game. So, as probably is obvious now, I've got to say that I'm a really big fan of franchise. It's so straightforward and clean and clear and quick. And yet the economic decisions are fantastic and really cleverly implemented mechanically with this covering up system and this consideration you have to make for, again, income versus points. I also love the way the game's pace is controlled by the players and how you might realize as you're playing, like, maybe you want the game to last a little bit longer, or maybe you want to rush it and end abruptly, and you have ways to work that desire for a timing situation into your strategy. It really feels fully dynamic in that way. Like you can really affect a lot of things with your decisions. So yeah, a big thumbs up from me for franchise. Really nice surprise for a game I hadn't heard much about that immediately I think rockets up to among my favorite economic games of all time. So yeah, I think this is a sort of like, not necessarily, this is obviously not a one-to-one contrast with Old King's Crown, but this is a game that is really quick and I think that we would love playing. I think this would be right up our alley.
I was going to say, this does seem like the one that we have to make a point to play next year. That's awesome.
It's so great that it's like so quick. The rules are incredibly simple. Like you teach the game in 15 minutes and you finish the game in like an hour, and it's just chock full of interesting decisions and a lot of like player interaction, and not in a way that you like can, it's not like take that, but you know, if you see somebody move into a big city and they think they can just sit there and soak up big profits, you can like threaten to move your franchises in there and you know, not only lessen the profits, but you can also like threaten to take control of the city. There's a lot of like really cool considerations with a game where the rules are like, there's like 5 rules and you're ready to go.
Were you familiar with the predecessor, Mark?
I had Merchant? No, I'd never heard of it. I was not familiar with it at all.
Okay, yeah, because it's interesting. It seems like Rio Grande, like semi-high profile late 90s game, but yeah, I wasn't familiar with that at all.
Yeah, I think I might have heard of it, but I was not familiar with the way it worked at all or any of the dynamics. I think I'd heard of it as a game that people recommended, but yeah, this is a really good implementation of it, I'd say.
Nice.
So that was Franchise, designed by Chris Wart Conrad and published in this implementation by Queen Games.
Okay, let's get into our feature topic, which is a BGBBOB. Mark, you have kindly assembled a list of designers that I'm going to be putting into Pub Meeple, and if you're not familiar how this works, we're going to go in a head-to-head battle with each of these designers until one definitive ranking emerges. And we are going to kick that off right now.
Always forget the most important rule. The most important rule is that...
Oh, yes, the most important rule.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
What are we We're forgetting that this doesn't make any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And so we're voting on it. So 2-1, you know, 2 people are enough to clinch it. And we can argue about it, but once somebody says, fire away, their vote is locked in, it cannot be changed. That is the most important rule of this whole thing.
Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
Otherwise, yeah, it doesn't. That's right. Everything else
As
crumbles.
long as we agree on this one part, yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Number 1, our first showing, stepping up, is Eric Lang versus Jamie Stegmaier. Stegmaier.
Okay, so Stegmaier, you have Scythe, you have Viticulture.
Yeah, you do.
With Lang, you have Blood Rage, you have Rising Sun.
Of course.
Did he do Death May Die?
He did do Death May Die.
Yes.
Co-design. How do we factor co-designers into?
We give him 50% credit.
Yeah.
That was obvious. I should have
yeah.
I should have known.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Do we give Stegmaier any credit for Wingspan? We do not, right? Because he was publisher there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we're not ranking them as human beings.
We have acknowledged
we would give it.
That's the important thing.
We acknowledge Wingspan, but we give Stegmaier no credit.
No credit.
As a designer.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
But no, I mean, look, other than Scythe, right? Like the standouts, well, no, I guess actually I was going to say Between Two Cities, but that's also not him technically.
Viticulture, right?
Viticulture, obviously the other big one. Charterstone.
Vantage.
Considered
Vantage.
Okay. Look, okay. I think, here's my thing. It's got to be Lang. This is ridiculous. I don't know why we're talking about it. But I will say that Lang sometimes feels a bit one-noted in what he's really good at, which is like Chaos in the Old World, Blood Rage, Rising Sun, and Ankh. And then the other stuff a little less. But this stuff is so good that we have to vote for Eric Lang. Fire away.
I think I would agree. Like, I think I agree with everything you said, really, which is to say that Eric Lang stands out because of these area majority games that we love. I mean, I love all of those games you just mentioned. But yeah, do I love any other Eric Lang games? I don't think I do.
A big minus for me for Stegmaier is the way that Kellen soured on our campaign or our thing of Charterstone. Kellen running out of gas at Charterstone at the end is like an indelible memory in my mind of that game.
Permanently tainted. Yeah.
No, I think saved all of you. I saved you.
4 hours of our lives.
I do want to. I do think that like nothing has quite hit the high of Scythe for me when it comes to stuff from Stegmaier's camp, but I do want to acknowledge that Vantage is a incredible achievement, and especially as like a work over the length of time that it took Jamie to develop it. Just want to admire that. But I
hereby
think it's
acknowledged,
Eric Lang.
and Eric Lang, fire away.
Fire away.
Did you know that Vantage is in the top 300 on BGG? That's what our rating system is these days.
It's a very good game.
Good rating system.
Yeah, that too. Wolfgang Kramer steps up and Vlad Chvatil.
Okay.
So
does Kramer get a half credit for every Kramer and Kiesling game?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, half credit. Half credit. You've got El Grande. You have the Mask trilogy. You have Take 5.
Isn't 6 Nimmt? Yeah, Take 5.
Yeah. So you have Mexica, Java, the entire Max trilogy. You have Palaces of Carrera, Linko, Paris, Renature.
Yeah, and a lot of the main ones are around a specific like area control-y thing.
Sure.
Happening here. Not all of them. Wandering Towers is a more recent one that's been fun.
Let me pitch to you the alternative of a guy that can do it all. He can do it big. He can do it small. He can make the best party game you've ever seen of all time. He can make epic civilization.
He could do it big. He could do it small.
Yeah.
He could do a party. He could do
through
it all.
the ages. He's here and now. He's
do
everything.
It big. He did Codenames Pictures, right?
He did do Codenames Pictures. He did Codenames Pictures Harry Potter, which,
Oh, sir. Read the room. Okay, I don't even want to say Vladic Voltel, but you have to give it to him on like diversity here of code.
I agree.
Like I think I prefer Wolfgang Kramer games personally.
I always admired in the glory days of Vladik Vatvil, like how different all of his games were. They were kind of these elaborate big games, but they were kind of doing very wild themes in very different mechanical ways. Like you kind of saw him do mechanics that you just never seen in other games before in excellent service of these like crazy themes. I don't know. I have to give it to Vladik. He was for a very long time, may still be my favorite designers. So
yeah, I agree. I'm with you. I love Wolfgang Kramer for his like how solid his designs are, but Hvatel doing like such a wide range of games is pretty cool.
Vladik Vatvil fire away for me.
Same.
If we could get rid of Pictomania, it would have been even easier to...
Wrong.
Didn't take a Pictomania. One of the best party games ever made. Never mind Codenames. Okay, stepping up, Rainer Knizia and Martin Wallace.
Oh, this is a battle of titans. I mean, is this going for like a battle for second place? Is that where we're at? Is Knizia locking it in already? Because we have
long said that Knizia is the podcast's favorite designer, but is that still true?
I mean, look, you got to give it to him, obviously. However, there are, for as many home runs as there are...
No,
yeah, that's right. For as many home runs as there are a bunch of swings and misses. I mean, he is like obviously so prolific that is an unsurprising, but... something to consider.
What are we supporting here? Yeah.
Right.
Is it mitzvah or is it concentration of mitzvah?
Right. Exactly.
You follow me?
Exactly.
I'm following. I'm right.
That's how I would have said it too.
Well, there's 811 games on BGG that are linked to Rainer Knizia, and that's probably underselling it, right?
Yeah.
Based on what we know about the man. There is 150 for Mr. Wallace. So I can't do the math because I'm not smart here. but it's like at least it's 1/5. So if we take 5 of Reiner's games, put them on 1 of Wallace, who has more mitzvah?
Let's just put that into
this
the equation.
Is the math.
Neil, can you put that into our equation?
Yeah, I'll pump it in.
And remember, you only get half credit.
Yeah.
Think about the half credit.
Right. It probably has to be Knizia here, right? I guess. I love how quirky and how interesting Wallace designs are.
Can we get 5 Wallace designs that we love? Brass.
Sure,
and
brass.
We can't double brass.
A Study in Emeralds.
Age of Steam.
Not Australia. Don't bring up Australia.
No,
or Via Nebula.
I do
or
like
Natty
London.
Narking. All right,
Tinner's
it's Reiner.
Trail.
Okay,
okay.
Tinner's Trail.
Tinner's Trail. Random, the board game.
No, Tinner.
Random.
No.
Random.
Incorrect.
Bloodstones,
incorrect again,
bro.
How is
incorrect
Bloodstones
again? How was I incorrect before?
You've been incorrect. I'm not calling out every one of them. I'm just calling out
Reiner Knizia, fire away.
Reiner Knizia, fire away.
That mitzvah is concentrated.
Eric Lang versus Richard Garfield.
All right. Well, the question here is, how much stock or do we count Magic the Gathering? What's your
we obviously got
to
count Magic the Gathering.
Okay,
we have to count Magic together.
Okay.
It's notable.
It is notable.
My thing was, how much do we count 1994's Vampire: The Eternal Struggle?
I mean, yes. Wait, is that a Garfield game?
Robo Rally? Come on.
Robo Rally? Netrunner? Of course.
Bunny Kingdom?
Yeah.
Mind Bug for those dummies who like it? I don't know. I'm sure it's fine. Listen, look, I think Richard Garfield, for me, represents perhaps a designer that I know less about, but enjoy his sensibilities. I put him very high, to be honest with you.
For sure, yeah.
Like, the fun is the fun.
Totally. I think I don't always come away from these games in a post-Magic, post-Netrunner world at least thinking like, wow, I loved that. But like, it does always feel like inventive. And actually, I should say Robo Rally I adore. I love Robo Rally. But yeah, like I think his games are often like very just kind of quirky and weird. Even, not that long ago, this was maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, there was The Hunger, which was kind of like a Clank adjacent game, but I really liked it. It wasn't super original and it kind of wasn't all the way there, but it just felt weird and inventive in a way that I think is very typically Richard Garfield. And also, like, I think maybe much more of a bigger deal for me than either of you, but Magic the Gathering is such a core part of my board game identity that it's hard to overstate.
I'm willing to go Garfield here.
Garfield, fire away.
Richard Garfield, fire away. Okay, next up, we have Sid Saxon and Uwe Rosenberg.
All right.
Ooh.
Here we go, because I have to stand up for my man here, because I have a feeling I'm going to get outvoted. Actually, no, I think I can get Mark. I don't think I can get Nealon.
I'm telling you now, you got...
Yeah, Mr. Nealon loves pastoral farms. This is America, bro. We don't have those here, right? You can't farm here. We aren't farmers now.
That's right.
Acquire? Think about America. Think about Can't Stop. Think about I'm your boss. I'm the boss. Yeah, think about Acquisition, a game we have not played, but Mark has told us we need to play. Sid Saxon is the best. I can show you a photo of him because... It just, I can't even believe you would want to argue this with Uwe. Uwe every year releases another game and tarnishes his legacy.
Okay, look, I think
That's
I will
strong
acknowledge
language.
that.
I probably don't.
No. I was going to say, I thought I was going to push back, but I was like, what has Uber made lately that I was like that into?
Yeah. Newsfjord,
good.
And then the Bat Poop game? You're here defending the Bat Poop guy?
Okay, yes, the less we say about whatever that was
Tiwa?
called.
A Tiwa?
Tiwa. No, but look, we're talking about Agricola here. We're talking about A Feast for Odin. We're talking about Bonanza. We're talking about like seminal classics of the board game space. I think what's hard in this space is it's very hard not to admire Sid Saxon from like a timing perspective. Like how much he contributed when he did. I will not push back on any of that. It's just hard because I don't feel that strongly about his games in 2025. At least the one, actually, except Can't Stop. Can't Stop is phenomenal. Can't Stop, absolute best in class, one of the best games ever. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like that many of his other games.
Just because you're bad at I'm the Boss. Did you know that he's one of the characters in I'm the Boss?
I did not know that.
I actually am just learning that as I look at more and more pictures of him. He's the guy.
I think I will bow out and say Uwe Rosenberg, fire away, and let you fight this out with Mark, though.
No, Sid Saxon, fire away. I think Mark understands how important it is to respect our elders.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I got a chance to play, it appears to be his 14th highest ranked game just a couple days ago, a game called Metropolis, which I'd never played before. So I played one of his top games of all time, and it was utter garbage. Uwe Rosenberg, fire away.
What?
Mark! It was terrible. It was terrible.
No!
Agricola.
That was my heart can only take so much after 11 p.m.
I stabbed you. You got stabbed. You were looking.
No.
The bat poop guy.
Until was not that bad.
Okay. It's not very good. Next up, though, is Stefan Feld, newcomer versus returning Vlaada Chvátil.
All right.
Stefan Feld, he of Oracle of Delphi, one of my absolute favorite games. He of forgotten the name of it. Castle of Burgundy. That's not the one I was going to say, but that's okay. Year of the Dragon was the one I was going to say.
Year of the Dragon?
Oh, yeah. Everyone's favorite, Year of the Dragon.
Everyone's favorite, Stefan Feld.
Bruges.
I
got to tell you,
Trajan.
Old Stefan Feld, original Stefan Feld is pretty damn good. Like that old point salad stuff.
Macau.
That's good stuff, man.
Have you played
good stuff.
Civolution yet, Mark?
I have not played that. You were lukewarm on that,
I think you should. It's pretty weird. It's good.
Okay.
Good weird.
I actually just got a trade offer for it, so now you've piqued my interest.
I think that everyone should own 3 or 4 Feld games.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do I think this about who's our other guy in the other corner?
Vlaada Chvátil.
This is really hard. I actually think Feld is misunderstood, even by me. Even early podcast Kellen.
No, I agree.
Was wrong of Stefan Feld.
So you were asking me earlier when I was saying why I was saying you were wrong. And this is another time that I would just say it in my head and not say it out loud. So I'm glad you spoke the words that you were wrong.
What?
I would love to, at this point, to refer people to the classic Stefan Feld rant, like a highlight of Kellen's podcast career.
What was? I don't even know what you're talking about.
No, it was like early Kellen ranting about Stefan Feld games. It's I'll track it down for people because it's very good. Dear.
But in this case, it is very hard to argue against Vlaada's like just range here, and like code names. It's almost like, to me, if I was Vlaada Chvátil, my business card would be the box cover of code names. Like that was
one of those word cards.
Yeah, exactly. Do you want my number or not? You know, I'm the CEO.
I made code names.
Kind of thing. And so I don't think you can be topped. I'm Vlaada Chvátil, fire away. But I Stefan Feld these are all good designers. First of all, that's the premise of this list.
Yeah,
no one is bad here, but got to be Vlaada for me.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy Vlaada for me personally, so I'll say Vlaada, fire away. Okay, Stefan Feld versus Wolfgang Kramer. I think here I would lean Feld.
I think I'm with you. I think I'm Feld here. I mean, they both feel like designers who are like always put out solid games, and I think Feld wins it just with like the number of classics, in my opinion.
Yeah. I love the Mask trilogy, at least the 2 of the Mask trilogy that I have played. I love both of them for different reasons. I still need to play Tikal at some point, but I think that Stefan Feld, even when I don't love his games, I admire them a lot and I like what they're doing. Like, very few of his games I come away from thinking like, oh, I just didn't like that. Sometimes they're games I don't love, like, you know, I think I may be cooler on Castles of Burgundy than most people, but the games of his I love, and then all the games of his that I don't love, I like a lot.
Feld, fire away?
Feld, fire away.
I think I would go the other way, but I think it's just that Wolfgang has less kind of going on now, I feel like, in general. I don't know.
I think the thing I should make sure that we're not acknowledging, but like the breadth of Kiesling games are also just very good.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, Richard Garfield versus Rainer Knizia.
I'm going to go Knizia here.
I think I have to go Knizia as well.
I am like I'm not souring on our only true and living Doctor, because like if you just tell me I have to have like a pleasant time, I would always elect a Reiner Knizia game. But if my collection went down to 10, would it contain Reiner Knizia titles in it?
Yes.
And is
should.
that...
It should.
It should? Which one?
I think so. I mean, you could go
Which
with
one?
Raw. You could go with Tigris. I mean, Tigris
Raw
is
is
not one
super overrated. Raw is super overrated. Raw is way overrated.
Okay.
By the way, Tigris and
Blue
Euphrates reprint just announced by 25th Century Games as of today. You didn't see that because I just told you. No, you haven't seen it yet. I just told you. Sure. Richard Garfield is like spikier and perhaps has created a more relevant game for the whole world in Magic the Gathering than anything Reiner has done. But
these are almost certainly the two most influential designers in gaming. And I just think
yeah, okay.
You don't have like the sort of like dueling card game / TCGs without Garfield. Like these are like the biggest, among the biggest totemic figures in gaming. I think
if we're talking about modern hobbyist board gaming, then it's more obvious to me. Yeah.
So I'll go Knizia. Fire away.
Okay, Knizia it is. Richard Garfield versus Martin Wallace. Okay, so the thing about Martin Wallace, right? Like I think, like I obviously love Brass. I also like a lot of his games. I've said multiple times that all of his games are at least interesting in weird ways. Are that many of his games, other than Brass, incredible by your guys' standards?
Study in Emerald for me.
Okay, sure.
I think Age of Steam is incredible. I think that is an incredible design.
I think if I were to pick two, it would be those two as well, Age of Steam and Brass for me.
Yeah, I think those are the two standouts in my opinion. I think there are a lot of good ones, but if you're talking about like the top of the top, I would say those are the two for me.
He's economic guy. Do you know?
Yeah. He's economic guy, and he's like rough edges guy, like not sanded down, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I think I'd pick Wallace, but this is close.
I'm torn. It's just hard. Like it's like Magic the Gathering weighs so heavily, but then and Robo Rally, but then it's tough because I don't love that many other Garfield games. But like, I think I might go Wallace in this.
Cool. Wallace it is.
Well, okay, fire away, Wallace, Martin Wallace. Okay, next up, Vladek Vartel versus Uwe Rosenberg. Ooh, this is a tough one for me. Both of their games have respectively been, at various points, my favorite game of all time in Feast for Odin and Through the Ages.
I think for me, I'm going to go Rosenberg because I think I respect Vartel games more than I love them in general. I respect like the range and like the different designs, but I think I like more of the Rosenberg games. So I'm going Rosenberg.
I think I'm going to go Vlada.
Oh, Kellen.
So I guess it's up to you, Kellen.
I think that I have to go with my man Uwe here.
That.
Vlada is like often just a little bit too out there for me. I think if I liked one of Through the Ages or Mage Knight or Galaxy Trucker or Dungeon Pets, I would reframe this. But like some of my love of him is just in Codenames and then how prolific he is. He made That's a Question. Should I count that, Neelan?
I forget. Do you like Tash Kalar? I know we've actually spoken about it.
I do like Tash Kalar. Yeah. But I think Uwe, fire away.
Okay. Vladek Vartel versus Sid Saxon.
Sid Saxon, fire away.
Vladek Vartel, fire away.
Oh, boy.
He just wants to get me again.
I do want to get you again, but I don't know. I'm torn. I'm torn here. I'm going to go Saxon, Schwartel. I'm going to go Schwartel, fire away. It's close for me, though. I'm torn on that one, but I think I'd go Vlada.
Stefan Feld versus Sid Saxon.
Sid Saxon, fire away.
I'll give you a Saxon here. I'll go Saxon here.
Okay, Saxon it is. Rosenberg versus Knizia.
Knizia, fire away. Not even close.
Knizia.
Yeah, like, Rosenberg games are like equally as iterative on himself, but he doesn't have 800. He doesn't have
sure.
Right. They feel a little bit more
that's true.
Deliberate in the iteration.
He has 269, so he's got 4 times as many to go, and then we could revisit this.
Right.
Rosenberg versus Martin Wallace. I think I'm going to say Rosenberg, fire away.
I think I'm going to go Rosenberg too.
I don't
close.
I like these people. Why are we doing this?
That's what makes it hard.
So we got 2 Rosenbergs, so we're on.
Oh, sorry. Martin Wallace versus Vlaada Chvátil.
Martin Wallace, fire away.
I'll go Wallace,
Vlaada
too.
Chvátil. Oh, Wallace takes it. Vlaada Chvátil versus Richard Garfield.
Richard Garfield, fire away.
I'm going to say Vlaada Chvátil.
Oh, boy. God. This is another... Just 2 really interesting designers. Man. I'll go Garfield. Tough call.
Vlaada Chvátil versus Eric Lang.
Eric Lang, fire away.
Ooh, I'll go Vlaada. Go, this is Vlaada then.
You didn't fire away, so we could still change your mind. What do I need?
Vlaada, fire away.
Convince me. Okay, never mind. I'll go Vlaada.
Sid Sackson versus Eric Lang. This is going to be Eric Lang for me.
What are you doing, Kellen?
Lang has to be at least mid-tier on this list, but Sid Sackson can't be the last because he is dead. So that's not a joke. I don't know why you're laughing. Okay. That's a fact.
Sounds like a joke to me. Okay, I'll go Lang.
I
go Lang.
Yeah.
Saving the Lang it is. Okay, Sid Sackson versus Jamie Stegmaier.
All right, here we go. Not last. Sid Sackson, fire away.
It's funny because it's like I don't want to say it even, but I'm
because
just
he is dead.
This is going Sid Sackson.
Sid Sackson.
Yeah,
because he's dead.
Sid Sackson. Okay, Sid Sackson.
I'll give not Sid a Sackson bad that. Reason.
Jamie Stegmaier versus Stefan Feld.
Stefan Feld. This is just out of.
These are great. These are all great designers.
Yeah, no, exactly. Look, Kellen said it best already. These are all amazing designers. Like no bad designer here. So.
Yep. Well, and in fact, we literally picked 15, or how many designers are on here?
10.
We picked 10 designers that were prolific enough to have the discussion about, so that's why it's
Wolfgang Kramer versus Stegmaier. And I think this is going to sound crazy, but I think I'm going to choose Stegmaier in this for me. Like,
that's not crazy.
I like, more recently, I would say I'm a fan, more excited about the stuff that Stegmaier is doing than the general Kramer.
I'm gonna go Kramer. I just think he's such like a workhorse, solid designer. I like pretty much any game he's been a part of, so I'm going Kramer.
Yeah, it's Kramer for me. I think if there was one game outside of Scythe that I liked a lot, like because for me, I don't love Viticulture, I don't love Tapestry, I don't think Red Rising was that it. So it's like I do love Scythe, and I think that like if we were ranking like board game publishers. Just sheer like winning, he might actually be number one.
That's actually kind of where this whole thing gets a little bit weird with him. Where it's like it's very hard to argue that Stonemaier is like crushing it as a publisher. But then if you don't include Wingspan on the list of games that he's designed, which obviously you wouldn't, then it does change the odds a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, we're done. It is done. Over.
Nealon,
we have our definitive list.
Before you say anything, just remember Sid Sackson's dead. So if you have to change the list on the fly, lift that man up. One spot.
We have to pay respect.
Lift that man up at least one spot because he's dead.
Okay. Gotcha.
Well, I don't understand why we're laughing.
Okay, we have at number 10, Jamie Stegmaier.
Thank God. We've lifted the dead man.
At number 9, Wolfgang Kramer.
Oh, wow. He really rose up.
Have 8, Stefan Feld.
Wow.
At number 7, we have Sid Sackson, who is dead. At number 6, we have Eric Lang. At number 5, we have Vlaada Chvátil.
Okay.
At number 4, we have Richard Garfield. Number 3, Martin Wallace. Number 2, Uwe Rosenberg. And number 1, Rainer Knizia.
Interesting. That didn't shake out the way I would have expected it if I just guessed it before we went. But yeah, that was interesting. I like that.
I don't know that I would have thought that Wallace would have been a number 3. It makes so much sense when you think about like our collective tastes. But that's the biggest surprise for me. Well, there it is. Thank you, everybody, for BGB bobbing with me. And thank you all for listening to us BGB bobbing with each other. If you disagree with anything we have said, then come up with your own...
What? How could you, though?
I know. But if you have thoughts, of course, we'd love to hear them. Go head over to our Discord, which is at boardgamebarrage.com/Discord, and chime off in the podcast channel. Tell us what you think about our objectively correct choices that we have made today.
If you're going to submit your own list on that channel, your own top 10 list, we just ask to make sure that any dead designers are not at the bottom. They must be 9 or higher as
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Per the rule.
And acknowledged as such.
Yeah. It was dead.
It's a good rule
Thank
for
you.
life.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Heart Society for our intro and outro music. What's in Your Mind, Kid? Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.